Hi guys, today we're going to be talking a little bit about mechanical ventilators and relating it back to what we've been learning in class about gas laws and kinetic theory. We'll also be taking a little bit of a deeper look into the history, the description of it, the mechanical functions of ventilators, and kind of the specific parts that allow it to run to keep patients safe. And again, we will be relating this all back to gas laws and kinetic theory.
For our system, we're using mechanical ventilators, and this helps a person move air in and out their lungs when a person cannot breathe on their own, which relates to the 3 gas laws learned in class. It works by using air pressure, flow, and volume, which relates to all 3 gas laws. The early ventilators were developed in the 1920s, but in 1928 they came with the first ventilator called the iron lung, developed by Philip Drinker and Louis Shaw at Harvard University. The iron lung worked by changing the pressure on the body, helping the lungs expand and contract. Mechanical ventilators have been used for hundreds of years. From the 1930s to 1950s, it was the iron lung that was used, which was like a negative pressure, but from further on, it was more of a positive pressure, and now we use it commonly in many hospitals today, and it's mostly computer-based now. Mechanical ventilators are mostly used by healthcare professionals, like doctors, nurses, or respiratory therapists. So patients who cannot breathe on their own, are under anesthesia during surgery, have lung failure, or maybe just breathing issues, this is what they would use. And during COVID-19, which we've all have experienced, this was very, very important. And a lot of patients needed breathing support during this time, so this was a very, very important thing to have during that time. It's pretty simple what this does and how this impacts a person. It helps you be alive. It can deliver oxygen, it releases the carbon dioxide, it can help your lungs heal maybe after a surgery, and it helps support you during a surgery. We can also say mechanical ventilators are the technology of the time. It helps save millions of lives. So back in the 1900s when this was first a thing, our mechanical ventilators were mostly negative pressure, and it was people squeezing it by the hand so they can control it. But now we have positive pressure ventilators, and they're smaller, more precise, and they're more accurate, and it's easier to control. And how it fits in society? It's something we use every day as healthcare professionals. They're essential to the medical field. They can be found in ICUs, emergency rooms, ambulances, and without this, most people would have not made it. But thanks to this, they have. In summary, mechanical ventilators are essential to our society, and the gas laws that go into it are very complex to the point it's very hard to even explain them. But in this video, that is what we're doing, and that's what we're going on to next.
This contraption right here is a closed circuit ventilator. This is a ventilator that uses positive pressure to pump air into a patient's lungs. This first little chamber here is called a mixing chamber. This consists of the air that will eventually be pumped into the patient's lungs. It uses a machine that pushes the air by using pressure into the tube that will receive the air into the patient's lungs. It then has to encounter a CO2 absorber. This CO2 absorber takes out any CO2 within the oxygen being pumped to make sure that the CO2 does not make it in to the patient's lungs, as for that could harm them. Then the air has to make it through a one-way valve. This is to make sure the patient's exhaled air is not being put into the wrong area. This then goes through a humidifier. A humidifier makes sure that the air being put into the patient's lungs is not dry, as if the air was dry, it could dry out the lungs and cause forever damage to the patient. Once the air is humidified, it goes into the patient's lungs. Now, as anyone breathing would, they would have to exhale. So next, the patient's exhaled air has to go through an upper tube that, again, has to go through a one-way valve. This one-way valve makes sure that the air is going the right way and does not flow backwards. That would very much harm the patient. So once it makes it through this valve, it cannot go backwards, and it keeps going forwards. Once it goes forward, it makes it back into where it started, which is the closed circuit chamber. This is where it gets mixed again and cleared to go back into the lungs. So ventilators actually use gas laws and gas behaviors a lot more than people would think from the outside. They heavily rely on laws like Boyle's law, Charles's law, and ideal gas law to make sure that air is flowing in and out of a patient's lungs safely. This basically just says like how gas is or changes pressure, temperature, volume, all within a ventilator. The behaviors of these gases can also be shown or explained through kinetic molecular theory, which basically states that Gas particles are constantly moving, and when their speed is increasing, this is due to the fact that the temperature is also increasing. The first gas law that is used within a ventilator is Boyle's law. This is used when a ventilator is compressing air. Boyle's law states that when a volume of a gas decreases, the pressure increases if the temperature is constant. When the ventilator is pumping the air, it basically lowers the volume of the container by shrinking and pushing the air, which in turn increases the pressure. They do this to get it above normal atmospheric pressure, which is around 101 kilopascals, and the ventilator's goal is to basically increase the pressure above the level just a tiny bit in order to push the air into the lungs. This is usually just above standard atmospheric pressure by about 1 to 2.5 kilopascals. And once this is done, the air is easily able to pump into the inhalation tube, which then gets pumped into the patient's lungs. The second law that mechanical ventilators use is Charles's law. Charles's law basically just helps explain how the temperature within a ventilator changes. Charles's law states that as temperature increases, volume of the gas increases if the pressure remains constant. So when the air is compressed within the chamber of a ventilator, it actually pushes the particles of the gas closer and closer together. When this happens, the particles tend to collide more often, therefore increasing the temperature. The temperature does not increase a major amount. It's usually only 7 to 8 degrees Celsius, ranging from like 22 to 30 degrees Celsius, and this all is occurring inside the ventilator. But before the air gets pumped into the patient's lungs, it also has to go through a humidifier. This humidifier also in turn increases the temperature of the gas just a slight amount, and this is usually to like 37 degrees Celsius. The third gas law that is used within a ventilator is the combined gas law. This is basically how pressure, volume, and temperature all react with each other, as well as the number of gas particles and all their relationships. So the equation for this law is PV equals nRT. This stands for pressure times volume equals number of gas particles or moles times a constant and times the temperature in Kelvin. So this is useful because when engineering the ventilator, the engineers need to design a system so that it is able to deliver the correct amount or tidal volume, which is the amount of air within a breath. So for example, a typical tidal volume is about 500 milliliters per breath, and this occurs about 12 times per minute. So the ventilator must correctly know how to adjust the flow and the pressure so that it is able to administer the correct amount of gas which is entering the lungs each time a breath is administered. The way to describe the behavior of these gases is the kinetic molecular theory. This basically states that particles of gas will move in random directions and they will collide with each other all within the walls of their container. So when the temperature of these particles increase or they get warmer, it speeds the particles up. So they are moving even faster in random directions, which means they frequently collide with each other. When they're colliding, it basically in turn increases pressure. This in a ventilator is when they are being compressed inside the chamber. They are hitting each other more frequently and increasing temperature and pressure. So this pressure is created in order to easily be able to distribute the air and push it into the tube that will eventually bring it to the patient's lungs. So lastly, the patient has to exhale. So basically when a patient exhales, the gas expands, and this in turn leads to the pressure decreasing. So as this air from the patient's lung flows back through the expiratory tube, it has to go through a one-way valve and again has to go through a CO2 absorber. This removes as much CO2 as it can while oxygen can be added back, so it mixes back in before the air has to get reused again to be pumped back into the patient's lungs.
So now we're going to go into depth about the high pressure and the low pressure in a mechanical ventilator. In this stage, the ventilator acts as a mechanical pump. By pushing a piston or bellows, the machine reduces the internal volume of the gas. According to Boyle's law, when you decrease the volume, the pressure must increase. This creates a gradient where the pressure inside the circuit is higher than the pressure inside the patient's lungs. Because nature seeks equilibrium, the gas particles are forced into the lung. The particles are being crowded together, which increases the frequency of collisions. This is exactly what we see as a pressure increase on the monitor. Now for the example of the low pressure. When the ventilator cycles to the expiratory phase, the exhaust valve opens to the atmosphere. This effectively increases the total volume available to the gas particles. As the gas expands into a larger space, the density of the molecules drops. Because there is more distance between each particle, they collide within the walls of the tubing much less often than if they were in the ventilator. This reduction results in a lower pressure reading when we see the slope of the graph, which will be in the next part. Now here's a graph representing the mechanical ventilator but using Boyle's law. Let's talk about the inspiration first. This represents the work being done to overcome the resistance of the airways. We're packing more matter into a conformed space. Now the inflation hold. This brief pause is critical for diffusion. It keeps the pressure steady so the gas particles can distribute evenly into the smallest part of the lungs. Now the expiration. This is a passive process. The elastic recoil of the lungs pushes the particles back out the system, returning to the circuit into a baseline pressure. As you can see on the side of the graph, there are circles representing high pressure and low pressure, representing inspiration and expiration. So as the graph increases, there's high pressure. So when you see the circle, the particles are very compacted together and they're frequently colliding with the walls. As the graph decreases, expiration, it will be low pressure, which means the particles are much more spread out and they're less frequently colliding into the walls. So in summary, as the air is moving into the lungs, the volume decreases, the pressure increases. But as it's falling, the volume increases and the pressure decreases. All relating back to Boyle's law or any of the gas laws provided in this example.
Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed our video and you learned something new today, like how mechanical ventilators function and how they use gas laws in everyday life to help anyone that we know.